All right, so are you ready to dive in?
Always ready.
Okay, awesome. Today we're going to take a deep dive into VeThor Token.
VTHO.
VTHO, yeah. This cryptocurrency has been kind of blowing up the headlines recently with this price surge. We've got to find out why.
Definitely.
We've got articles, market data, expert analysis, all that jazz.
Yeah.
Let's get you up to speed on what VTHO is, why it suddenly decided to, shoot for the moon.
To the moon.
And whether or not this is something that, you should even care about.
Yeah, it's fascinating because, VTHO isn't just another crypto token.
Right.
It plays a specific role within the VeThor ecosystem, so we kind of need to understand that whole ecosystem to really grasp its potential.
Okay, so let's back up a little bit then and start with the basics.
Sure.
What exactly is VeThor Token,
right,
and how does it fit into this whole VeThor world?
So think of VeChain as a platform aiming to kind of revolutionize how we track products and information, especially in supply chains. It uses blockchain technology to create this secure and transparent record of every step along the way, so you can think from manufacturing all the way to delivery.
Okay.
Now, VeChain actually uses 2 tokens to make this happen.
Interesting.
So the first one is VET, which represents the overall value within the ecosystem.
Okay, so VET is like the main currency then.
Exactly.
Kind of like Bitcoin or Ethereum or something like that.
Exactly like those big players.
Ooh.
But what makes VeChain unique is the second token, VTHO.
Okay.
And this is where things get really interesting.
Come listen.
You see, VTHO is what you actually use to pay for transactions on the VeChainThor blockchain. So it's like the fuel that keeps the whole system running.
Oh, so every time like a company uses VeChainThor to track a product or something like that,
exactly,
they need VTHO to make that happen.
You got it.
Okay. It's almost like paying a toll to use a superhighway of information or something.
That is a great way to put it.
Okay.
That's a great analogy. And that actually brings us to why everyone is suddenly talking about VTHO.
Yeah, why is that?
This little token just shot up over 300% in a very short period, hitting a 2-year high.
Wow. Okay, so our sources show that it went from trading around $0.0026 on January 15th to over $0.01 by January 21st.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's a massive jump.
Huge jump.
And the trading volume has been insane.
Oh, yeah.
It indicates a ton of activity and excitement around VTHO.
Definitely a lot of excitement.
So what's fueling this rocket ship?
Well, there's a lot to unpack here.
Okay.
It's not just hype, although that certainly plays a role.
Sure.
But if we look at the fundamentals, one of the main drivers seems to be the growing adoption of VeChainThor itself.
Okay, so the more companies that are using VeChainThor,
yeah,
the more demand there is for VTHO.
Exactly.
To power those transactions, which pushes the price up.
Simple supply and demand.
Okay, that makes sense from like a basic economic perspective.
Yeah, but was there anything else that might have triggered this sudden surge?
Oh, absolutely.
Like what?
Remember how like a company's stock price often jumps when it gets listed on a major stock exchange?
Uh-huh.
Well, the same thing happened with VPHO.
Oh, really?
It recently got listed on 2 major cryptocurrency exchanges.
Which ones?
Upbit and KuCoin.
Wow. Okay.
And that gave it a lot more visibility and made it easier for people to buy and trade.
So that's huge. And the data shows that the Upbit listing alone accounts for over 66% of VTHO's total trading volume.
It's massive.
That's a huge influx of activity.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so we've got increased real-world use plus these major exchange listings.
Yeah.
It's starting to paint a clearer picture of why VTHO kind of took off.
It is, but there's one more piece of the puzzle that I think is really clever.
Okay, tell me.
It's how VTHO is actually generated.
Okay.
So remember VET, the value token?
Yeah.
Well, when you hold VET, it actually generates VTHO passively over time.
Oh, so it's like a built-in reward system or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a little bonus for holding on to your VET.
So as the VeChain network grows and more people are buying and holding VET, they're automatically creating demand for VTHO because it's being produced right alongside it.
Got it.
That's brilliant.
It's a really clever system.
It creates this ongoing cycle of growth and demand.
It does, and that's why some analysts believe that VTHO has more than just hype going for it,
Yeah.
There are fundamental reasons to be optimistic about its potential.
Right.
But of course, we always have to look at,
both sides
of the coin, right?
Yeah, exactly. We've explored the factors driving this upward momentum, but what about the potential downsides?
Right.
Is this all just a temporary bubble?
Right.
Or is there something more substantial here?
Yeah.
And what do the technical indicators tell us? Let's dig into that next.
Let's do it.
Okay. Okay, so we've got this exciting growth story, but we also need to be realistic,
Right.
What are the charts saying about VTHO's recent price action? Are there any warning signs that we should be aware of?
That's where technical analysis comes in.
Okay.
By looking at price patterns, trading volume, and other indicators, we can kind of get a sense of, whether an asset is overheated or if there's more room to run.
Right.
Now, I won't bore you with all the technical jargon.
Days don't.
But one thing to note is that VTHO is currently considered to be in what traders call overbought territory.
Okay, so in plain English, what does that mean for someone like me who's not a professional trader?
Essentially, it means that the price has gone up very quickly in a short period.
Okay.
And there's a chance it could see a correction or a pullback.
Yeah.
Imagine stretching a rubber band. Eventually you reach a point where it's likely to snap back a bit.
Right.
That's what a correction is.
Okay.
It's a temporary dip in price as some investors take profits or the market kind of adjusts.
Gotcha. So even though there's a lot of positive momentum behind VTHO, we should be prepared for some bumps along the way.
Yeah, you always got to be prepared for some volatility in the crypto market.
Right, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But what about the long-term outlook?
Right.
Where do analysts see VTHO going in the future?
Well, price predictions are always tricky,
Yeah,
especially in the crypto world.
for sure.
But it is interesting to see what the experts are saying.
Yeah, so what are they saying?
One source we have is predicting VTHO could hit $0.05 by the end of 2025.
Wow, 0.05.
That would be a massive return from its current price.
Yeah, that's a bold prediction.
It is.
What's their reasoning behind that?
Their bullish outlook is based on a couple of key factors.
Okay.
First, they believe the adoption of VeChainThor will continue to grow exponentially.
Like crazy.
As more businesses realize the benefits of using blockchain technology for things like supply chain management, transparency, sustainability, they'll need VTHO to power those applications.
Right.
And that increased demand should theoretically push the price up.
Okay, so it's all about that real-world utility.
It is driving value.
Exactly.
Okay, and what's the other factor they're considering?
The second part of their prediction kind of hinges on the impact of those recent exchange listings.
Okay, yeah.
They believe that increased visibility and access to VTHO will attract more investors.
Right.
And further boost trading volume, contributing to price appreciation.
Yeah, it's all about connecting the dots between real world adoption,
Right.
market accessibility, and investor interest.
It's all connected.
Right, okay, that makes sense. And I remember you mentioned that holding VET generates VTHO passively.
Yeah.
Does that factor into these long-term price projections as well?
Absolutely. That's another element that could contribute to sustained demand for VTHO over time.
Okay.
As more people hold VET, the supply of VTHO will continue to grow,
Right.
potentially pushing up its value.
So we've got this fascinating interplay of technology, market dynamics,
It is.
and even a bit of tokenomics at play here.
Oh, for sure. It's more than just like a simple price chart. It's a whole ecosystem.
Precisely. And those long-term predictions we discussed, while exciting,
Yeah.
are just one piece of the puzzle.
Right.
We also need to consider the broader context.
Okay.
Some analysts believe that if blockchain technology really does become as transformative as many predict, the value of utility tokens like VTHO could skyrocket.
It's like trying to imagine what the internet would be worth back in the early days,
Right.
No one could have predicted the scale of its impact.
Exactly.
Could VTHO be a similar game changer in the world of supply chains and data transparency?
That's a question worth pondering.
Yeah.
And it highlights why it's so crucial to understand these emerging technologies and potential they hold.
For sure. But before we get too carried away with the possibilities, let's bring things back down to earth a little bit and talk about the risks.
Okay.
Because with any investment, especially in the crypto world, it's important to be aware of the potential downsides.
Absolutely. Risk management is key.
Right. We've talked about the blue sky scenarios, but what are some of the red flags investors should be watching out for?
Well, the first and most obvious risk is the inherent volatility of the crypto market.
Okay.
We've seen VTHO make some incredible gains recently, but it's also experienced sharp drops in the past.
Right.
Cryptocurrencies are known for their wild price swings, and VTHO is no exception.
So it's not for the faint of heart.
It's not. You got to have a strong stomach for this.
Right. But what about factors beyond just market volatility?
Yeah.
Are there any other risks specific to VTHO or the VeChain ecosystem that we should consider?
One thing to keep in mind is that the success of VTHO is ultimately tied to the adoption of VeChainThor.
Okay.
If for whatever reason businesses don't embrace this technology as widely as predicted, or if a competitor emerges with the superior solution,
Right.
the demand for VTHO could suffer.
Yeah, it's a reminder that even the most promising technologies face competition and challenges.
Absolutely. There's no guarantees in this space.
Right. And then there's the regulatory landscape.
Oh, yeah.
Which is constantly evolving.
Always changing.
Governments around the world are still figuring out how to approach cryptocurrencies.
Right.
And new regulations could have unforeseen impacts on the market,
For sure.
including the price of VTHO.
Definitely.
So there's this element of uncertainty that investors need to be comfortable with.
You got to be comfortable with the unknown.
Right. It's a high risk, high reward kind of game.
That's a great way to put it.
And speaking of risk and reward, the big question on everyone's mind is VTHO a good investment?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right? Now, of course, I know you can't give financial advice.
Of course not.
But can you help us weigh the pros and cons based on the information we've gathered?
I can definitely do that.
That would be incredibly helpful. Let's break it down.
Sure.
What are some of the key arguments in favor of investing in VTHO?
Well, first and foremost, it has a clear purpose and utility within a growing ecosystem. VTHO isn't just a speculative token. It's the fuel that powers transactions on VeChainThor,
Right.
a platform with real-world applications and increasing adoption.
Right. It's not just hype. There's actual substance behind it.
Exactly. And as we've discussed, the recent price surge isn't just due to speculation.
Yeah.
It's been driven by concrete factors like increased adoption exchange listings and the unique tokenomics of the VeChain ecosystem.
So there's a legitimate reason to be optimistic about its future potential.
There is, but of course there are risks involved. It's not a guaranteed win.
Right. So it's important to be aware of both the potential upside and the potential downside.
Precisely. And that brings us to the crucial question for you, the listener.
Okay, what's that?
Given all this information, is VTHO the right investment for you?
That's the million-dollar question.
It is.
And unfortunately, there's no easy answer. It depends on your individual risk tolerance, your investment goals, and how much you believe in the long-term potential of VeChain and blockchain technology as a whole.
It's a personal decision.
Right. This deep dive has given you the knowledge and insights to start making an informed decision.
Exactly. But it's just the beginning. There's so much more to explore.
Okay, like what?
From the intricacies of VeChain's technology to the broader implications of blockchain for various industries.
Okay, so where does all this leave us? We've unpacked a lot about VeThor Token, how it works, why it's been surging, the potential, the risks. It's a lot to take in.
Yeah, you know what stands out to me is how VTHO really perfectly illustrates that you can't just look at a crypto's price chart.
Right.
It's tied to this whole ecosystem, VeChainThor, which is trying to solve real-world problems.
Yeah. It's like we've been saying, this isn't just about speculation.
Yeah.
If VeChainThor takes off the demand for VTHO, its fuel should theoretically increase.
Exactly. And that brings us to the big so for our listeners, right?
Okay.
Imagine a world where every product you buy, your clothes, your food, electronics, has its journey tracked on this like unbreakable, transparent system. No more counterfeit goods, no more supply chain disruptions. You never have to wonder where things came from.
Wow, that's the kind of future VTDs is aiming for. And VTHO is the token that makes it all go.
Yeah, that's the key.
If that vision becomes reality, what could that mean for VTHO's value long term?
It's a question worth seriously considering. We've seen how increased VeChainThor adoption is already driving VTHO demand. So if this trend explodes, VTHO wouldn't just be a token, it'd be part of the backbone of global commerce.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued. But even with all this potential, I have to remember what you said about risk.
Yeah, of course.
Crypto is volatile, regulations are uncertain, there's always competition.
And that's why this deep dive was just the starting point.
Yeah.
You've now got the foundation to do your own WN digging.
Okay.
Don't just take our word for it. Explore VeChain's white paper, check out resources like VeChain Stats, see what the community's saying.
It's like you've given me this map to a hidden treasure, but I need to go on the adventure myself to decide if it's worth the risk.
Exactly. And whether you decide to invest in VTHO or not, you've gained valuable knowledge about a technology that could reshape the world as we know it.
Well, thanks for taking me on this deep dive.
My pleasure.
It's been eye-opening.
Always happy to share the knowledge and encourage people to keep exploring.
All right, well, that's it for a deep dive into VeThor Token. Make sure to tune in next time for another exciting exploration of the crypto world.
Catch you later.